Alexander Goma is the Managing Director and CEO of Grand Cereals Limited, a subsidiary of USC Nigeria plc, an experienced business leader with over 20 years experience. Alex Goma is a seasoned business manager with significant expertise in general management, sales and trade marketing, customer service and logistics of FMCGs spanning 6 countries in Africa. In the past 3 decades, he has dedicated his life to building people, customers, and brands in respected global businesses in Africa. Some of these businesses include Procter & Gamble, British American Tobacco, Guinness Diageo plc, and PZ Cussons. Before joining Grand Cereals Limited in 2019, Alex was an executive director on the board of PZ Cussons Africa. He served as the company's corporate strategy and external affairs director for 3 years and was also the managing director for the company's consumer strategic business units (SBU) for 5 years. Before that, he was the managing director of PZ Family Care SBU, a position he held for 6 years. Alex Goma also held various roles in other companies, including sales director at Guinness Nigerian plc and head of trade marketing and distribution at the British American Tobacco Nigeria. During his time at the British American Tobacco Nigeria, Alex held the position of Trade Marketing Development Manager and thereafter the country manager for Senegal, Gambia, and Mauritania. During his stint with Procter & Gamble, Alex was the Customer Marketing Manager, PNG, West Africa, Category Manager, Fabric and Home Care, PNG, Egypt, District Manager, Ghana, District Manager, North and West Nigeria, and lastly, Customer Service and Logistic Projects Manager, Lagos, Nigeria. Alex Goma is notable for building and managing results-oriented multifunctional teams that have launched new brands, grown sales volume, market shares, enhanced profitability, and created leadership organizations. He has played major roles in developing sales capability programs and management trainee schemes to build a pipeline of future talents. Alex holds a degree in biochemistry from the University of Port Harcourt and an LLB degree from the University of London. He is a faculty member of After School Graduates Development Center, an NGO set up to prepare college graduates for employment or running their own company. He is also a member of the advisory board of edischool.com, a non-executive director at Literamed Publications, the publishers of Lantern Books, and also serves as corporate advisor for AfriScience Digital. Alex is also a notable public speaker in a number of public forums with focus on leadership, commercial strategy, and execution. He is a sports lover who enjoys playing soccer and golf. He is happily married to Ruth Goma and they are blessed with 3 children.
My name is Alex Goma. I manage Grand Cereals Limited. Grand Cereals Limited is a USC company, right? We are in the food and nutrition base. We produce products that serve as animal feed as well as food for human beings. What makes Alex Goma? It's a mixture of different values, experiences gotten over time. My dad was in the military. I had my early years growing up in the barracks. I went to military, primary, secondary school. So some of my foundation was based on discipline. I like to read. I was encouraged to read by my dad. And the motto of my schools, primary, secondary, was discipline and knowledge. So I believe that life is about choices, and the foundation for making the right choices is having the right knowledge base. With more information, you can make choices. So Alex Goma has been, I would say, child of grace, because I've had privileges based on certain things that have happened, that have not happened because I planned them to happen, but I've also applied myself to be able to build myself to where I am today. I believe there are certain fundamental things that you require if you want to grow. First thing, it's understanding what value is. So I use one of the quotes from Einstein. It is better to be a man of value than to be a man of success. The way the world today looks at success, looks at it from material things, rather than whether you create value or you add value. At the end of the day, money is a means of exchange of value. If you create value, you will get value in return. The second thing is that nothing can take the place of persistence. It's also another saying from Calvin Coolidge, a former US president that I always liked. He tells you that you've got to keep going on. You never know what is around the corner. So long as you have clarity of purpose, you don't give up. So persistence, resilience are key attributes that make individuals or organizations to survive. And then the last one is that there's no dignity or freedom as important as living within your means.
Generally speaking, men and women are different. And we said last time out, I love the differences, I love at least the physiological differences between a male and a female are driven by the hormone testosterone. No, it's just, so it doesn't even matter whether you are XX, if you are, or you are XY. If you are XY, and then you have androgen insensitivity, so you are producing testosterone. But for one reason or the other, your body is not responding to that testosterone. You are going to develop like a female. So that's why we have all the intersex issues coming up, clinically speaking. So that's why we are, because testosterone drives, and the differences are there, the mental changes, the physical changes, it just drives those differences. So what do you need to know about your man?
People get into trouble because they are not able to manage what they have as a platform or foundation for where they want to be, right? The journey to success is not always a straight line graph. So if I look at scripture and look at very clear examples, David was anointed king, was anointed at age 12, but when did he ascend the throne? But he went to tend sheep. Whilst tending sheep, he learned how to play the harp. That learning how to play the harp is what took him into the palace. If you're going to be king, where else would you get internship? Get into the palace. But because he was so good and the king had mental issues, they said, oh, there's this young boy who knows how to play the harp. Now, when the issue of Goliath came, he also learned how to use his sling whilst he was tending sheep. So again, it's the tools that he had that the Lord used for him to do that. He had a dream of a message sent by God. Now, if you ask the average Nigerian to write their career path, God has told you you're going to be prime minister. You'll expect from the father's house, you go to diplomatic school, you're this, and then you end up as prime minister. No, he was sold, he became a slave, became a prisoner, and from there became prime minister. So the path to where you are heading to is not always straightforward, right? But it's those attributes and principles that allow you to keep your head going up without losing up. Interesting, because in the barracks, a few things. First of all, I will call out. The same bus that took us to school was the same bus that took the soldiers to work. And so mid-term, half-term, end of term, the soldiers will look at everybody's results in the bus, right? It's not your parents, you are accountable to everybody, right? So basically you needed to have good results for everybody to be proud of you. And something that was enforced every Saturday. All the soldiers will line up in front of their houses. The RSMs will come and inspect hygiene, all of those things. So there were certain levels of regimentation that you had. Of course, we explored, we were mischievous. We did a lot of things that today parents will not allow their children do, but this is all part of growing up. For my dad was, I started reading very early. He got me to read newspapers from when I was like 8. I was buying my own newspapers when I was 11. I was reading military abstracts when I was 11. He was asking me to read stuff and come back and explain to him what I felt. So he was challenging me on on thinking, right? He was challenging me on thinking. I was in the adult choir from age 8. The military church had a Hausa section, an English section, and the English section was smaller. So because I could read early, I was invited into that. I was in the boys' brigade. I actually wrote my first formal letter of resignation when I was 13 years old. I was in the boys' brigade. We were playing in a football competition. The captain of the unit, who was a corporal in the army, felt we were too small, and he went to bring outsiders who were not members of the church to compete in that competition. So I felt it was wrong, and I wrote a formal letter of resignation to the church, and I resigned. It felt a bit, he didn't take it lightly, because later I went to play for a football team where he was team manager, and I just remember that coincidentally, I only played whenever he was not around. If he was around, I was never selected for the lots of things, I was very playful, right? Same way I read, I was very playful. My mom was responsible more for my spiritual upbringing, because I think she was the one that encouraged me to go into the choir, go into the church, and everything that had to. My dad spoke more from a secular perspective and from the military perspective. So I guess I got a balance of having two parents who sort of gave me different foundations, which are at the heart of where I am today. So I went to Command Children's School, went to Command Secondary School in Kaduna, and then I went to the University of Port Harcourt, where I read biochemistry. Again, going to Port Harcourt from Kaduna, Northern Boy, was the first time for me out of that region, but I had friends who lived with us in Kaduna, and because of them I went to Port Harcourt. Again, it was a different experience. I felt at home. In fact, at the point, people in school used to feel that I was lying. I was not from the north. How could somebody just come in and you're at home? I used to go to see my friends, go to their villages. And after I graduated from the university, I served in Imo State with brewery, Eastern Breweries, now part of Nigerian Breweries, 3K. But I think my internship at Jos International Breweries, my service year, were two key periods of life that taught me about work ethic, right? Understanding how to translate your knowledge into skill and also into results or outcomes for people. I think first thing is, like I said, it's educational foundation and value system, right? Because I think I was also fortunate, some of the lecturers we had in Uniport at that time, they were not interested in just giving you stuff to regurgitate back to them. They helped us to think, they challenged us to think outside of what they gave. I remember HO, he used to give me a lot of journals, Professor Ayalogo now, to read beyond textbooks. So I read more of lots of stuff that were being done outside, so I could see application of things. So when I went for my internship, I remember asking a number of questions, and the head of quality control sometimes would say, look, I don't know the answer, but you're the student, you go and find out. And so I will go find out, and I will come back and I'll say, okay, this is why we are doing this in the lab. So I think that curiosity, that inquisitiveness, and looking for why do we do this helped me. And when I went to serve, I didn't go as a copper, greenhorn. I went with authority, because when I went to the lab, I looked at some things they were doing, and I said, no, you guys are not doing this, you guys should be doing this. And initially, of course, I was ignored, because you're a copper, what do you know? But there came a time they had a sample that came from outside that needed to be analyzed, and nobody could do it. And then the supervisor said, wait, this young man has actually mentioned this to us before. And so they asked me, we went to get the equipment and we started doing that. So I could start to see the impact that you had as an individual on doing things. So when I finished service, I thought for a while, because I was trying to get money just to take care of myself. So I did part-time teaching. And then first place I worked was a bottling company in Plateau State in Barking-Ladi called Highland Bottling Company. I was in quality control for a year, and I left to join Leventis Group as a trainee sales manager with the stores. Leventis stores is your equivalent of your ShopRites of today. I spent 18 months. I grew to become a branch manager. And then one of the biggest decisions I took in my life was to resign and to become a sales rep for Procter & Gamble. Now, it didn't make sense to a lot of people because I was already a branch manager. I had a company house in the GRA, gardener, driver, all the works. And here I was going to take a job as a sales rep with a 15% pay cut. It didn't make sense at that time, but I knew from my reading that P&G developed people, P&G built brands, and I wanted to have that experience in a company that would develop me. And that was the best investment or decision I made in myself. So basically, the foundation of whatever I know as a business person actually was built by P&G, because it taught me the rudiments of how to manage business. They gave me the opportunities to take decisions despite the early stage of my career. And then they broadened my exposure because I worked for P&G in Nigeria, I worked for P&G in Egypt, and then I worked for P&G in Ghana as well, before I left to join British American Tobacco. So BAT just came into Nigeria. One of the reasons why I joined was the fact that, okay, at that time Nigeria was a pariah state and very few companies wanted to come because we were in I think around the military regime, and that had just ended, and there was still some uncertainty about Nigeria. At that time, the company was going to invest £150 million in Nigeria. I said, wow, for a company to want to invest £150 million in Nigeria, they're bold. I was approached. I took the job. I started as regional manager for the North. I then moved to head office where I was trade marketing development manager. Then I moved to Senegal, where I was country manager for Senegal. Then Gambia and Mauritania were added to my portfolio. And at that same time also, I also launched Paul Mall for BAT across West Africa before coming back to Nigeria as head of trade, marketing and distribution. I did that role for a year, and then I left to join Guinness as sales director. I was sales director in Guinness for 3 years, and after that I left to join PZ, where I was MD for the consumer business for 9 years, and then external strategy director for a year before I took up this job in 2019. So it's a mixture of, knowledge applied to skill, producing results, but I also say fortunate in the sense that I've worked for people or I've maybe impacted some people, because some of the roles is people who I've worked with who either recommended me or said, look, you're looking for somebody, we think you can reach out to Alex. So I think that if you invest in people, if you invest in structures, if you build organizations, you help people build the right things, you operate with competence and character, all right, you will get the desired results that you have. I have a statement of purpose that clearly guides what I do, and nothing in that has anything to do with a position. It just says I want to create value. I want to build people, systems, organizations that are sustainable, that can stand for themselves. I believe that in this world you need interdependence, not independence. Everybody has something of value to offer. How can we help people see what they have to offer and therefore harness that and bring that to the party? Look, if you cook for yourself and you know how to cook well, you get no value. If you cook for 5 people, those 5 people will pay you because you have a small booker. If you have 5 different outlets and therefore you're serving 200 people, you get value from 2. So value will come, the greater the base at which you create value, the more money you get. So I've never chased after money. I've chased after building skills, developing myself, and then the roles and positions have come. So I see the roles and positions as platforms to allow me to live my purpose, to be who I am, to have the freedom to be Alex. I get asked that a number of times, tobacco, beer industry and all of that. And I said, look, BAT was an ethical company, and I think I worked there, I didn't smoke, and I said, look, the product is legal, and we can argue because people can argue and say, are you being legalistic or are you being moral, right? And I said, look, it's a choice that you would have to make. So we had rules. We only sold our product to smokers. We had guidelines that ensured that, okay, we didn't focus on children. We didn't go places close to schools or churches or mosque or whatever. So we had rules. And for me, I said, so long as it is legal and there's a value system behind it, right, it was okay. Am I 100%? It's still a debate, even within myself, right? Maybe that's why it was easier for me to leave, because I really liked the company. I mean, BAT was a fantastic company. P&G helped me with my foundation, but BAT gave me breadth, right? I always had that niggling concern, but you know, like I said, it's something that I have to live with. It's a choice I have made, and that's it. I think the first thing is, for most companies, and if you look at companies that survive years, right, is the fact that they're very clear about their purpose and they have a set of values that govern what drives everything that you do. So everything, when you think about an organization or a community or society or whatever, it is your value sets, right, your culture that determines the longevity of that organization. So most multinationals have a high performance culture, and for them to have a high performance culture, what are the ingredients? There's clarity of purpose. Why do they exist? We exist to serve consumers in so sphere, all right? How will we do that? We will do that by focusing on 1, 2, 3, 4 things, right? Who are we? We are defined by this set of values, and that's how we behave. And those values will govern the choices we make, the structures we put in place, the processes, and how we recruit people. And when they recruit people, they look for people who have those values. One of the mistakes I've seen a lot of people make is to think that academic excellence alone will guarantee you success. No. I always tell people, everywhere in the world, when you are issued your degree, there's a simple citation that is said: you have been found worthy in character and in learning. It is your character that will provide the basis or the foundation or the pedestal for your learning to show. Because if you are smart, and let's look at Nigeria very simply. If I'm smart, I know how to work, I know how to manage people, but I have a bias because I am tribalistic. So when it comes to recruiting people, what will happen? That bias will mean that I will not go for the best people. I will simply find people who will satisfy. If there's a decision to be made between 2 suppliers, and one supplier has offered a better product at a better value for the company, but if I'm thinking of ulterior motives, right, because I want to enrich myself, then I'm going to make a decision, right, based on that. So your competence will be eroded by your lack of character. And I think that's one mistake that we make. So I think that's what makes multinationals and a lot of big companies think. They don't think for 1 year, 5 years. They think for the long term. They build the structure, they build the process and the capacity for them to be able to survive over a long period of time. If you look at Nigeria today, okay, maybe apart from a few banks, right, First Bank and Co, that are, how many companies have actually lasted up to 50 years? But we don't build organizations, we don't build structures, okay? You have a man, he builds a company, which is fantastic. He has the right initiative, he has the right entrepreneurial spirit, but you don't build the processes or the right governance with your company. When the man passes on, what happens? The family goes under. Competence is not hereditary nor sexually transmitted. That's what I tell people. So you can't pass it to your wife nor to your children. You've got to build it. Skill is built on the base of knowledge, and knowledge applied is what becomes skill. So you find people who have companies. I've seen foreigners, who have companies. The children go to school, they find them jobs in other organizations. They go through periods of tutelage in other places before they even come back and join the family business. So they have experience and they have a basis for them to be able to enter and do that. We just transfer, and you know what, before you know it, one generation, second generation, the businesses are dead. 1980s, Abiola was one of the richest men in Nigeria. Where are his businesses today? Why did they collapse? Right? If you don't have the right structure, you don't build the right governance, you don't have the right value systems and culture in the organization that you build, you will not get results, you will not get sustainability. Life is continuous learning and unlearning. So how do you learn? If you want a life of growth, expect it to be tough. It is hard at first, and then you get used to it and it becomes easy.